Good evening. I'm Shelby Williams with Plano City Council. Tonight may be the last council meeting that I attended from my home office. We're looking at reconvening in City Hall under special social distancing norms starting on the council meeting on June 8th. So I gotta admit, I dropped the ball and I did not send out the briefing for the agenda tonight in advance. I apologize for that. But I'm going to tell you how it went so you can pretend that I'm telling you this in the past and you get a glimpse into the future of what's going to happen at the city council meeting. So we started the preliminary open meeting with new appointments from Mayor Pro Tem, that's Kayci Prince, and reappointment of Anthony Ricciardelli as Deputy Mayor Pro Tem. Congratulations to both. We also then went through and created new assignments to the city boards and commissions. We shuffle it up every year to give everybody broader exposure across the various boards and commissions, and we have new liaisons. We actually bounced around a little bit between preliminary open and executive session between preliminary open and regular meeting because we had a prolonged executive session. So we had to make up some time. We then went to we had a proclamation in the regular agenda of May is National Historic Preservation Month, and we provided certificates of appreciation virtually to James Hogan from the North Texas Municipal Water District Board and to Joyce Beach from the Planning and Zoning Commission. So thank you both for your service. We then went back to the preliminary open and we saw a presentation about the CARES Act funding that Collin County is receiving. Now, a total of $45 million across the county is going to emergency housing and living assistance. So obviously this has hit a lot of people very hard. So that money is going to help make sure that people retain their homes, they're able to keep a place to live. And I believe some of the money is allocated for food as well. The 4 largest cities in the area will be actually administering this. Plano is one, and the distribution will be seen through partnerships with nonprofits. And we are working through that right now. We expect the applications for this money for emergency housing assistance to be live on June 1st. So once I get that link, the link will be through zoomgrants.com, but I will forward that out when it's live. So be on the lookout for that. It's going to happen in 2 phases. The first phase is a distribution of $30 million, and then the second one is $15 million. Now, the money has to cover direct cost. Well, that has to go toward emergency living assistance, and we have to spend it through the end of this calendar year, is my understanding. They are still working through the final details, and of course, I will share that when it's all fully hammered out. Then we did have a special ordinance or special events ordinance update presentation. Say that 3 times real fast. Parks Director Ron Smith gave us an overview of a proposed update to our special events ordinance to help us better recover city costs from the things that we have to do to enable special events, small or large. And it's been proposed to create a matrixed special events approval team made up of departments, representatives from departments across the city who are most impacted by special events. I think that makes a whole lot of sense. So that will come back to council at a future date in the form of an ordinance to consider. Then for the remainder of the regular meeting, we approved a specific use permit, that's an SUP, to allow a rental car service for 9 parking spaces at a public storage facility. The specific use permit was required because that's a use not normally considered in that zoning area. And the owner wanted to gain better use of the parking spaces there by enabling rental car spaces. And that's in the public storage facility area, out of a residential area. Across the main street onto the west, there is a residential area. And then we passed an ordinance to redefine the block sizes on the Collin Creek Mall property. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of construction development there, so we're reshuffling the makeup of the place, and we'll look forward to seeing the finished product when it gets built. But we have many more proposals regarding the Collin Creek property coming up. One of which is impacted by the next item on our agenda, which was an update to the drainage fees. We did pass a 15% increase in the drainage fees. We are anticipated to consider an additional 10% on top of that later this year. Now, the reason for that is we haven't updated them in a long time, and we are currently not able to recover our costs for the drainage system, plus do the work that is necessary for the Collin Creek drainage culvert. Now, the drainage culvert, I ain't gonna lie to you, it's pricey. But we've known for a decade at least that we were going to have to redo it. And that, the drainage culvert, properly is a city infrastructure expense. So we need to work toward that, and we have updated the drainage fees now in order to make sure we're covering our costs. Now that amounts to an additional 62 cents per month. I think it's 62 cents. 62 cents per month for the average Plano single family home. We then moved on to consideration of an item I had tabled about a month ago for a contract to build signage at the Red Tail Pavilion. That's at the Oak Point Park, the amphitheater. Right now, the amphitheater doesn't get a lot of attention because it's not seen from the roadway. There's no signage to truly point to it and call attention to it, and so it doesn't get as much use as it could. Back before the pandemic started, we had put out a bid to create signage there. The bid was for, the winning bid was for $164, or I should say the best bid was for $165,000, and then the pandemic happened. The item came before council about a month ago, and I asked it to be tabled so we could get a better sense of what was going to happen with all of this. We're still not going to know the full impact on our sales taxes until next month because there's a lag in sales tax reporting. However, we had to make a decision tonight on that contract, else the period, the 90-day period in which we have to decide expires, and if we want to do it again, it's got to go out for bid again. I did make a motion to deny that because while I totally see the value of having the signage there, and over time I expect the city would recoup that from events being held there, I don't see those events manifesting in the next 6 to 12 months. And it's only going to take about a 6-month construction time to put the signage there with another couple of months bid process period. So I wanted to make sure that we could get a better handle on the true economic impact to our city. It's also going to be contingent, the events are going to be partially contingent on the development in the area around the Plano Event Center, the hotel, the Envision Oak Point development, etc. So I don't see the real need for this for quite a while yet, a year, maybe 2 years, so maybe even longer. So I did make a motion to deny this, and it was denied. So if we want to do this again in the future, which I think would be prudent at the right time, we have to put it out for bid again. We then moved on to the last two items, which were both interlocal agreements with Collin County. The first one was for partial CARES Act funding, which has been given to the county and is being divvied up amongst the cities in the county to cover direct city expenses, reimburse direct city expenses related to the pandemic. Now these have to be direct costs incurred directly related to the pandemic. And same stipulation applies. We have to spend the money by the end of this calendar year, and the costs have been obviously incurred since the pandemic. The second interlocal agreement was for the funding for emergency housing assistance, a portion of which, like I said, I believe will also go toward food. Now, it's worth noting at this point that closed the meeting. Those were all the agenda items. We are going to start seeing next month the impact of sales taxes during April, during the bulk, April and a little bit into May, during the bulk of the pandemic and the shutdowns. We don't expect it to be pretty, but we'll see what it actually amounted to. But we expect this to take a while to recover from. There is going to be a ripple effect throughout the economy. In fact, there already is. We're already seeing it. Jobless numbers and unemployment rate is the highest since the Great Depression. The Great Depression. And a lot of those jobs aren't coming back. I won't hazard to say what percent aren't coming back, but it's going to take time to rebuild the economy in order to gain those jobs back. So anybody who thought that once the shutdowns were over, we'd just pick up where we left off, it's not going to work that way, I'm afraid. We have a lot of our people who are hurting. We need to do what's right by them. We need to make sure we stay the city of excellence. There's a lot of work that has to be done, not least of which is repairs to our aging infrastructure. But we've got to be very judicious with the costs that we're incurring, because every single cost the city incurs is paid for by you, the taxpayer. And that's money that a whole lot of people out there right now don't need being siphoned from their pockets with an unnecessary tax bill. I and many others are going to be on the lookout to look for creative ways to make sure we're treating your tax dollars responsibly and that we are doing what's right by all of our people. You chose to live in the city of excellence. We have every intention of remaining the city of excellence, but that means bearing a responsibility to you, the taxpayer. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time from City Hall. I'm Shelby Williams.